have to have some leverage of competency.
The sad part is I have no swag, dog.
Hit that subscribe, please. How you doing, Coley?
What
you got going on?
Just tremendous. The snow finally is melted. I thought we were done with it. Mother Nature said, not so fast. You live in the North Pole. Gave us a little bit more April snow. It got out of here quickly, so I'm in a much better mood. And we're talking about some borderline day one guys, day two guys, day three guys. How do you see it, Smitty?
This was not planned. This was not planned. Your setup, I love it.
No.
There's been some comments and people saying that Steve likes everyone.
Oh, boy.
No, I don't. I really don't. I'm just talking about these guys, what they bring to the table, what they need to work on. I do not believe, and I have never said that every single one of my breakdowns that the wide receiver is a first-round draft pick, because he's not. But what I think people need to pay attention to is all the receivers that I don't do breakdowns on. That's the part that you're missing. See, when you ask me to break down a certain guy who happens to be a certain height and certain body width, and he's a sleeper to you, but some of us non-scouts and scouts and then the other people have him in the 5th through 7th round, be careful. Be very, very careful. Because it's wabbit season. That's a great philosopher.
Read between the lines.
But let me tell you about a guy. I do not believe he's a first round, second round, third, fourth round. We don't know what round he's going because the draft is not here.
Sure.
That's why you're watching Cut To It to get this breakdown. Ja'Lynn Polk, Washington Husky, number 2, 6'1", 205 pounds. Played prior to his Washington days. Played at Texas Tech. Career high for Ja'Lynn Polk. 1,159 receiving yards last season. 9 touchdowns. But total 2022, 6 receiving touchdown in 13 games. Injured in 2021 on the season opening play. That sucks, but he's come back. My comp to Polk, which he runs just like him, is TJ Houshmandzadeh. He's not fast. He's not slow. He's really good, but he's not bad. He's just one of those guys where you look up and quietly he has about 9 catches for 120 yards. Just quietly doing damage. Best games against Michigan State. And Michigan State was a highlight reel against Oregon. Worst games, Arizona, Oregon State, and Washington State, where he does most of his business. 68% out wide for a total of 840 times he's lined up wide, down to a dismal 31%. 308 times he was in the slot. Games played, 41. 143 receptions, 2,231 yards of receiving yards, and 18 career collegiate touchdowns. 4 drops in 2023. 8 in his whole collegiate career, which is pretty darn good. 45 first downs last year and 91 total first downs. When you look at the tape or looked at the film that I pulled, Coley, is there anything you like or dislike about the young man before I get started?
I like the hands. I like the hands on. A lot of, but based on what you pulled and what I've watched throughout the year with Washington, he's not someone who shies away from contact at the catch point. Like we've seen a lot of guys, we talk about it, they try and either pin it against them or are they a hands catcher. To me, seems very much like a hands catcher.
Yeah. Yep, pluckability, attacks of football. His releases sometimes aren't the best. You can see his craftiness sometimes gets a little bit too crafty. And when you are an architect or a designer or just one of those artsy guys, you can kind of sometimes do too much. But he has enough savviness to get him back right in the right position. And that's what I love about him. He understands his speed limitation when you compare him to a Neighbors who ran a 4.3, a Worthy who's running a 4.21, the fastest official time ever. But he can play football. And we're going to go ahead and show you some tape right now against Tulsa. Understands the offense, but also knows the coverage. It's going to go in motion a little bit. Bang, bang, bang. Gets going. Just shows you, he got a little shiftiness to him. Against Michigan. I'm going with the end zone copy because this play, look at this. Pow! And he gets hit.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets up. In the league right now, he would have to go in the blue tent just because they want to make sure. Here's something else, too. You see, look over to the right. You see Rome over there where it says Big Ten? Getting held. Number 0 is undressing him. You can see his shoulder pad is coming off. His jersey is coming off his shoulder pad. Hey, son, that's holding. Flag on the play should be appearing pretty soon, but they don't. Hands catch, great extension. Look at that. If you ever watch that show, Ridiculousness, this is what you call a lawn chair right there, huh? Good catch. I like that. Let's get somewhere. Boom. Sits in the zone, attacks the football. Now, he's not going to outrun very many people, but he's strong at the point of attack. He's strong with the football in his hands. And that's what gives him that advantage.
He does seem to understand space and necessarily where to run, like angles. He understands his angles well.
Yeah. When I'm popping up this, you're only going to see spectacular throws and catches. You're just going to see some of the things that I like to highlight. Michael Penix puts it in the bucket. Just excellent. I think this is against Murray State. Goes in motion. Deep cross. Watch this catch. Ooh, rotation. Ball is thrown. Drops his weight. That's what fluid. Catches the ball with his hands and tries to stay up. You just don't see that normally from a lot of players, but just technically sound. Just going in motion. Watch this. Toughness again. Ba-yow! Holds on to the football.
And extends his hands out to doesn't wait for it to get to him.
And doesn't close his eyes because he knows the hit is coming. Stands firm. Got a little flea flicker, a little trickeration. Boom. Again, another pass. Thrown. Inside of the shoulder, going up across your body. Flea flicker. You see the little step that slows himself down.
Yeah.
Just enough, but doesn't give too much away to the pursuing linebacker. Yow. Look at that. Drops his weight. Just really good. He has number of plays. This is just zone play, zone coverage. This is what we call a stick. This is a stick concept. So actually, it'll probably be Z-stick X spacing. So we got the stick concept, flood. They're flooding the zone. You're going sticks with the flat, so that pulls the linebacker or safety, whoever's the hook defender. And he sits there, makes himself friendly to the quarterback. He attacks the football with his hands, but he still has his body away from himself because he's already telling me that he's ready to look forward, to attack the defender, to get more yardage. Stumbles, goes. I like it. Savviness, crafty release. Not going to beat you. He's not going to outrun you. But where he wins is at the line. Hesitation. DB's flat-footed. So he has that little Sutton step that lulls the DB to sleep. Great ball. Look at that. Extends his arms again. I want to show that. RPO game. Watch this. Goes up. In between two guys.
He seems to, almost like an outfielder in baseball, have a great read where the ball is going to be directly out of the quarterback's hand. Like the path of where it's going to be. We saw it on that crossing route where he had to drop his weight, adjust to it. A couple of them thrown behind him. A lot of them were right in the bucket. Penix was obviously one of the better quarterbacks in college last year. But the throws that were a little off, it wasn't like he had to adjust at the last minute. He's almost adjusting, especially on that last one, right out of the hand.
Ja'Lynn Polk's ability to adjust to the football is excellent. Big body guy. He's not going to, blow you away with his speed. Where he will beat you is at the line of scrimmage, in the middle of the route, to have the finish that he's comfortable with. And that finish is catching the football in close quarters. Being a big body guy, but having that nimbleness as a small jitterbug that you normally see, like that we saw in Thrash, he's making it as a big body guy. That type of excellent of eye and hand coordination cannot be taught. That's why speed is so marveled, because you can't teach that. Mm-hmm. You also can't teach toughness. You either have it or you don't.
Right.
And it's tough in this year's draft because there are a lot of players who are catching the football with a lot of targets and receptions. But you don't see all of their film looking like Polk's film, where it's between defenders. Having a possibility of getting hit consistently and not giving up the football as well, or what they say that, he makes that business decision. He's catching the football. His eyes are here, but his brain and his real eyes, his spidey senses are here looking at the defender, making sure he doesn't get hit.
Yeah.
That's you can teach that and somebody can learn it, but it's either in you or it's not. And I said you can't teach it because I'm saying you can teach it. You can tell them all what they need to do. We do fire drills all the time, right, in school. Until one really happens, and what happens? Nobody adheres to any of the standard of the fire drill. Everybody just kind of is controlled chaos.
Yeah, what are you're trying to train someone's instincts away from what they naturally are. So it's naturally he's like, I'll take the hit. I'm not too worried about it. Those are his God-given instincts.
Not every guy in this year's draft is going to get drafted. And not every guy in this year's draft is a dog.
For sure.
They're not cut from the same cloth. Do you know why, Coley?
Why is that?
Because some of them is napkins, bro.
Mean.
You know what a napkin is.
So, one thing when we talk about his speed,
that threw you off.
I haven't heard someone call a napkin in quite a while. He ran a 4.2 or a 4.52 at the combine, but we talk about a lot of the guys who do run that 4.3. That's not necessarily their game speed. Watching him, it feels like he's running a true 4.5 in the game.
Yeah, his game speed and his savviness makes up for the lack of whatever, his 40 time is. There's a number of guys who have had a ton of fast 40s. And that's why I call them accessories.
Right.
Because they're training to run 40s now, not training to run routes. So I can see a guy run a 4.3 and yet, or 4.29, and yet watch him run routes, and my man is running 4.4.
Right.
Because you can't run every single route at the 40 times speed that you have. You can't.
No.
Worthy is 4.21. You can't tell me he's running a 4.21
fourth quarter
in the hitch, running a hitch, bro. He's not. He's not going 5.5. He's not going 5.5 yards, right? And I say 5.5 because it's a 6-yard hitch, but 5.5 is where you're gonna have to start throttling down to go back this way. He's not running 4.21.
He also tested elite at the vertical and broad jump. And I feel like when a lot of guys do show off that they can jump high and far, it doesn't necessarily show up on the tape. With him, with several of those catches, you can actually see him utilizing those skills on the field, which I do feel is pretty rare.
I love his body control, too. Dropping his weight, jumping here, angling. I'm telling you, when I was watching this film, I said, bro, this is TJ. Just no ponytail.
Not yet. How should people view all of these Washington players? It's such an elite offense last year. The quarterback's going to get drafted. I don't know if the running back is in this class, but I know he will get drafted when he declares. The Polk is one of the 3 receivers who are going to go. Obviously, Odunze looks like he's going to go top 10. Polk and McMillan look like they're going to fall on this day too. How is it, like, we know all these guys more often than not were getting one-on-one matchups when they weren't facing zone because of how much talent was on the field. How much more difficult does that project to the next level where they might be playing in worse offenses day one?
Well, you hope they're not playing in worse offenses.
Sure.
You hope they're not put in position where their weaknesses are highlighted more than their strengths. Not every offense is created equally or the same, and not every coordinator has a good eye. And so you want to make sure, or you hope you go to a team that they draft you at your position that you've played in college and not try to change your position. I've seen guys play X in college, get drafted and play Z. 2 different responsibilities. 1, stationary stand at X. 2, Z, more responsibility. X is opposite of the call. Z is to the call. So if they come out here and say I right, if I'm Z, I go I right. If they go zig to I right, or zip, or zack. If you zig, that's going in motion and back. Zip is just you're zipping in, and zack is across the formation. So I zack the I right. So I'm starting on the left. I go to the right. I zack over. If I am the X, I right, I go left automatically. But if they say bunch right, I'm in the bunch right at X. I'm at the 3 on the bunch right. So that rule bunch says I go right. But then Z is at the point of the bunch right. No, he's number 2. Or if they flip it, because F is right there. And so if they run a spacing or zipper or drive, Z drive, he goes second. There's different responsibilities that if you've never done it before, you can easily get confused.
I could see that. I could very easily see that.
I probably went off, but
no, I love it. It's the kind of stuff, if you didn't play receiver, which 99% of the people involved in this show and watching this show did not, how would they know? How would you know?
Well, it took me a while to figure it out.
Sure.
I played X in college. I played X in the league. I moved to Z at the end of my career. I was originally a Z. They figured out that boy can't play Z. Nope. Nope, I am not capable of that bandwidth. As a rookie, because I never played Z before.
Right.
And I've never played Z in West Coast. So they were talking Spanish. And I didn't have my translator.
Well, it is always interesting during the draft, during free agency, when guys switch teams and they're like, it's going to be a similar language with the offense. Like, that's going to help clear some hurdles.
Yes.
It's just so, like, I don't know. I think of other sports, like basketball doesn't have that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it's pick and roll. We're not calling it something different, even if it comes from the left or the right. You know what I mean? It's just pick and roll. So that's where it's always interesting, that part of football.
It is so, you can be in the same offense and yet call it two different things. For 13 years, I ran a 16-yard dig route. In Gary Kubiak's offense, Kyle Shanahan's offense, when they call a dig, that's an 18-yard, almost equivalent to an 18-yard curl. I was in practice. He said, dig. I said, bet. He threw the curl. I said, dog, nope, my bad. 13 years of muscle memory. Right. I apologize.
Yeah. The teams that are the fan bases rather, not teams, the fan bases that have been targeting Ja'Lynn Polk the most. 9%, the Detroit Lions. How do you feel about that fit with Laporta and Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams?
Jameson Williams, speed guy. St. Brown, he's the F/Z. They need I think they need a little bit, not saying Jameson Williams is not a speed guy. So he's the deep threat. St. Brown's intermediate / underneath. They need a guy that can run. They need a guy that can run as X. That's a little bit different than Jameson.
That would seem to be Polk,
so that means that Jameson is going to go to Z out wide, and they want to have two fast, and let St. Brown do what he does underneath. I don't know if Polk is that guy for them in the first round.
Sure, yeah.
I don't believe he's going to get drafted in the first round because everything is predicated on these first 4 picks. If Caleb doesn't go, somebody else, that second and third pick, if somebody does a Houdini and appears and disappears, man, this draft gonna go bananas, bro.
Yeah, it's been weird. Obviously, we spent all of our time talking receivers, but paying attention to the national conversation, you would think it was only quarterbacks in this draft. It's all anyone's talking about. Jerzon Newton might be the best overall defensive player. People have just started talking about him.
Never heard of him.
Exactly.
Never heard of him. Kool-Aid, never heard of him.
Kool-Aid doesn't get brought up. Jared Verse doesn't get brought up. The tackles.
I can tell you this little secret, though. Take it to the bank. Come in closely, Coley. Don't let everybody hear. Shh. Keep this between me and you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't think a running back will get drafted till the second round. Sorry.
Yikes.
And here's why. One, if you haven't noticed, they don't value the running backs right now. There is no Bo Jackson in this year's draft.
No.
Even if it was, they don't value him. And it's a crying shame.
It is.
Hey, I love Ja'Lynn Polk. He's a fantastic football player. Look forward to seeing the TJ Houshmandzadeh comparison come to fruition. Ja'Lynn Polk, Washington Huskies receiver.